In Ashcroft City, everyone knew Kairo Bennett as the bicycle mechanic. His repair shop was small, his clothes were simple, and his hands were always covered in grease. People praised his repairs but laughed at his future. One morning, a wealthy businessman brought in an expensive racing bicycle. "My gears are slipping," he said. Kairo inspected it. "I'll have it ready in 30 minutes. The man looked around the tiny shop and laughed. "No wonder you're still fixing bicycles. You'll never become anyone important." The customers laughed with him. Kairo remained silent. He repaired the bicycle perfectly and handed it back. After testing it, the man nodded. "You're talented." Then he smiled mockingly. "What a waste." He walked away laughing. That evening, after closing the shop, Kairo drove to an abandoned warehouse where his best friend, Nolan Price, was waiting. Unlike the outside, the warehouse was filled with computers, city maps, business books, and investment plans. Nolan spread several documents across the table. "The city is auctioning 12 abandoned warehouses next week. Any competition?" "None. Everyone wants the luxury properties downtown." Kairo opened an old transportation report and pointed to a proposed railway line. "When this railway is built," he said, "these warehouses will become the most valuable properties in the city." Nolan smiled. "So everyone is chasing today's opportunities. And we're preparing for tomorrow." A week later, developers crowded the auction hall. Millions were spent on luxury buildings. Then the abandoned warehouses came up for sale. Silence filled the room. Kairo raised his bidding paddle. Someone laughed. "Isn't that the bicycle mechanic?" No one else placed a bid. Within minutes, Kairo bought every warehouse he wanted. As he walked outside, Nolan grinned. "They think you've just wasted your money." Kairo looked toward the abandoned district. "They're looking at what those buildings are. I'm investing in what they'll become." Neither man noticed billionaire developer Victor Hale watching from a black luxury car. For the first time, Victor realized the quiet bicycle mechanic might one day become his greatest rival. Months passed, and life in Ashcroft City seemed unchanged. Every morning, Kairo Bennett still opened his little bicycle repair shop. People continued to see him as nothing more than a hardworking mechanic. No one knew that after closing the shop each evening, he managed a growing business empire. The abandoned warehouses he had purchased were no longer empty. One became a logistics center. Another housed small manufacturing businesses. Others were transformed into affordable workspaces for young entrepreneurs. Together, they operated under one company, **Northbridge Holdings**. The company had no flashy advertisements and no famous owner. That was exactly how Kairo wanted it. One evening, Nolan walked into their warehouse office holding a financial report. "We're fully occupied," he said with a smile. "Every building?" "Every one." Kairo nodded. "Good. Now we reinvest everything." Nolan laughed. "Most people would buy luxury cars. I'd rather buy more opportunities." Meanwhile, billionaire developer Victor Hale was dealing with a different problem. Several companies had unexpectedly canceled leases in his expensive office buildings. "Where are they going?" he demanded. His assistant handed him a report. "A company called Northbridge Holdings." Victor frowned. "Who owns it?" "We don't know." "Find out." Over the following weeks, Victor's investigators searched company records, but every trail ended with another holding company. The real owner remained a mystery. At the same time, an ambitious city council member named Lena Brooks noticed something unusual. Neighborhoods that had once been abandoned were coming back to life. Small businesses were opening. Jobs were returning. Crime was falling. Every improvement led back to the same company. Northbridge Holdings. Curious, Lena requested a meeting with its owner. The request was accepted. She expected to meet a wealthy investor. Instead, when the conference room door opened, she froze. Standing before her was Kairo Bennett, the bicycle mechanic. "You own Northbridge?" she asked in disbelief. Kairo smiled. "I do." Lena looked around the office, struggling to understand. "Why keep it a secret?" "Because results speak louder than promises." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled. "I think Ashcroft City is about to learn your name." Across town, Victor Hale received another report. His investigator had finally discovered who owned Northbridge Holdings. Victor stared at the photograph clipped to the file. It was the same bicycle mechanic he had ignored months earlier. His expression darkened. "This isn't over," he said quietly. For the first time, Victor Hale had found an opponent he couldn't afford to underestimate. The news shocked all of Ashcroft City. The mysterious owner of Northbridge Holdings wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't a celebrity investor. He was Kairo Bennett, the bicycle mechanic. People couldn't believe it. Some praised his determination, while others claimed there had to be a hidden story behind his success. Kairo ignored the attention. The next morning, he unlocked his repair shop just as he always had. When a regular customer asked, "Why are you still fixing bicycles?" Kairo smiled. "Because success shouldn't make you forget where you started." Across town, Victor Hale was furious. "So the mechanic has been stealing my business," he said after reading the newspaper. He immediately ordered his team to fight back. Within days, city inspections delayed Northbridge projects. Banks suddenly refused loans. False rumors spread online, accusing Northbridge of dishonest business practices. Nolan rushed into Kairo's office carrying a stack of bad news. "We're losing contractors." "Expected," Kairo replied calmly. "The banks have stopped working with us." "I expected that too." Nolan stared at him. "You planned for this?" Kairo opened a drawer and removed several signed agreements. 2 years ago. Nolan looked at the documents in disbelief. They were investment partnerships with major international firms. "You had backup funding all this time?" "I knew success would eventually make powerful people nervous." A week later, financial news exploded with another announcement. A respected investment company had committed millions of dollars to Northbridge Holdings. The rumors disappeared overnight. Banks that had rejected Kairo suddenly wanted meetings. New investors lined up to support his projects. Victor watched the news in disbelief. Instead of slowing Kairo down, every attack had made him stronger. Meanwhile, Councilwoman Lena Brooks continued visiting Northbridge developments. She met business owners who had expanded because of affordable rent. She met young workers who had found jobs after graduating from Northbridge's training centers. Everywhere she went, people spoke about Kairo with gratitude. When she met him again, she asked, "Why don't you tell people everything you've done for the city?" Kairo smiled. "If I have to advertise every good deed, then I probably did it for the wrong reason." Lena nodded. For the first time, she understood why people trusted him. Weeks later, Ashcroft City announced the biggest redevelopment project in its history. The winning company would shape the city's future for decades. Every major developer prepared a proposal. Victor Hale saw it as his chance to reclaim his empire. Kairo simply folded the announcement and placed it on his desk. Nolan looked at him. "This could change everything." Kairo nodded. "It will." Outside, the city waited to see which man would win. The billionaire who had ruled Ashcroft for years. Or the bicycle mechanic everyone once laughed at. The competition for Ashcroft's biggest redevelopment project officially began. The city's largest construction firms submitted ambitious proposals, each promising to transform Ashcroft into a modern metropolis. Victor Hale was certain he would win. "For years, we've built this city," he told reporters. "No one is more qualified than Hale Corporation." Kairo Bennett never spoke to the media. Instead, he spent his days visiting neighborhoods, speaking with shop owners, teachers, and residents. He wanted to know what the city actually needed. A month later, every finalist was invited to present their vision at City Hall. Victor went first. His presentation was filled with luxury apartments, office towers, shopping malls, and expensive hotels. The audience applauded politely. Then Kairo stepped onto the stage. Instead of flashy graphics, he displayed a simple map of Ashcroft. "A great city isn't built by its tallest buildings," he began. "It's built by the opportunities it gives its people." He explained how abandoned neighborhoods could become thriving business districts. He proposed affordable workspaces for entrepreneurs, new schools, parks, training centers, and reliable public transportation. When he finished, the room fell silent. Then people rose to their feet and applauded. Even Victor realized the crowd wasn't cheering for a presentation. They were cheering for a vision. Over the next few weeks, the city's evaluation team inspected projects built by every finalist. Victor's developments were luxurious. Kairo's developments were alive. Small businesses were growing. Families had returned to forgotten neighborhoods. Hundreds of people had found jobs through Northbridge's training programs. The difference was impossible to ignore. Finally, the day of the announcement arrived. Reporters crowded outside City Hall. Business leaders waited anxiously. Councilwoman Lena Brooks stepped to the podium. After a thorough evaluation, she announced, "The city has selected Northbridge Holdings to lead Ashcroft's redevelopment." Cheers erupted across the city. Employees celebrated. Residents embraced one another. For many families, it felt like a new beginning. Victor watched the announcement in silence. For the first time in years, he had been defeated. Later that evening, he visited Kairo's office carrying a thick envelope. "I'll buy Northbridge," Victor said. He named a figure worth billions. "You'll never need to work again." Kairo smiled and slid the envelope back. "I didn't build this company to sell it." Victor frowned. "Then why did you build it?" Kairo looked out the window at the city lights. "Because I wanted to leave Ashcroft better than I found it." Victor had no answer. He quietly picked up the envelope and walked away. As Kairo stood by the window, Nolan entered the room with a smile. "We did it." Kairo nodded. "No." He looked across the city they had fought to rebuild. "We've only just begun." Outside, construction crews were already preparing to reshape Ashcroft. The city had chosen its leader. Now Kairo had to prove that the trust people placed in him was deserved. 2 years later, Ashcroft City was almost unrecognizable. The abandoned warehouses had become thriving business centers. New parks, schools, and affordable homes had replaced empty lots. Thousands of people had found jobs, and small businesses were flourishing. At the center of it all was Northbridge Holdings. Yet every morning, Kairo Bennett still opened his small bicycle repair shop. One customer asked, "With everything you've achieved, why are you still here?" Kairo smiled. "This shop reminds me where my journey began." Meanwhile, Victor Hale's empire continued to collapse. Companies left his buildings, investors pulled out, and his board forced him to step down as CEO. For the first time in his life, Victor had to face failure. A few days later, he asked to meet Kairo. When they sat across from each other, Victor spoke first. "I spent years trying to stop you." Kairo nodded. "I know. I thought success was about being richer than everyone else." He looked down before continuing. "But you taught me something." "What's that?" Kairo asked. "A city belongs to the people who improve it." For a moment, the room was silent. Then Victor stood and offered his hand. "I'm sorry." Kairo shook it. "We all get a chance to choose who we become." Victor thanked him and quietly walked away, leaving Ashcroft to begin a new chapter elsewhere. Months later, the city unveiled a new public square in the heart of the Eastern District. Thousands of residents gathered as Councilwoman Lena Brooks stepped onto the stage. Years ago, she said, this part of the city was forgotten. Today it stands as proof that one person's vision can change thousands of lives. The curtain dropped. A bronze statue stood in the center of the square. It wasn't Kairo wearing an expensive suit. It showed him in his mechanic's overalls, holding a wrench in one hand and a blueprint in the other. The crowd erupted into applause. Kairo smiled quietly before slipping away without waiting for the speeches. Recognition had never been his goal. As he returned to his repair shop, a young boy arrived pushing a bicycle with a broken chain. "Can you fix it?" the boy asked. Kairo repaired the chain within minutes. When the boy admitted he couldn't afford to pay, Kairo handed him the bicycle and smiled. "Just promise me one thing." The boy nodded. "When people laugh at your dreams, don't waste time proving them wrong. Spend your time making your dreams come true." The boy rode away with a huge smile. Nolan watched from the doorway. "You know," he said, "people used to laugh because you were a bicycle mechanic." Kairo smiled as he picked up another repair. "And today they know that no job is too small for someone with a big vision." Outside, Ashcroft continued to grow. Families filled the parks. Businesses opened their doors. Children played in neighborhoods that had once been abandoned. The people who had laughed at Kairo Bennett eventually learned a lesson they would never forget. Never judge someone by where they are today. Because while the world is busy laughing, someone else may already be building tomorrow.